Hello, everyone. I'm Elizabeth Hanson, and it's Wednesday night, just a little after 7, and it's time for Keto Confab. And we are a group of people trying to support each other in the keto lifestyle, according to the teachings of Dr. Annette Bosworth and others. We're not exclusive, and anyone is welcome here. And we're going to try a new thing where we are going to do three things. Each of us are going to do three things when we begin each week. And one of them is to say what we want to do better. One thing we did good this week, and then the last one is what we're thankful for. So, what I want to do better this week. I want to avoid watching my youngest daughter eat because she eats all sorts of things I want to eat, and it sets up this craving thing. And what I did well this week, or what I want to do better, I forget what way did we do this. It's new to me. Where's the chat window? There it is. Anyway, what do I want to do better? Getting to sleep, it's a problem. Getting to sleep on time is a big problem, and eating late. And then what am I thankful for this week? I'm thankful for the cooler weather, very much. Very thankful for cooler weather because I don't like hot. I really don't like hot. Okay, so Tammy, you were gone. One of the weeks that you were gone, we discussed maybe starting our meeting with a format, and we only did it that one night. We were going to try it last week again, but then I and my daughters were sick, and Scott didn't want to lead the meeting by himself, so so we didn't have last week. And then I realized that, oh no, this is the week we have to have a new link, because Zoom only lets me set up 12 weeks. And yeah, it limits me to 12 weeks, and then I have to set up a new one. And so I forgot until
That's strange because I have a
20
Zoom
minutes
account
before,
and I set up.
and so I got it set up and everything. So we're gonna try this new thing where we say something. Maybe it's something we did well this week, something we want to improve, and then something we're thankful for. So Tammy, you're up.
Okay, so
Boy,
I read a
come
book
don't
called
hear any of
Atomic
you?
Habits. Can you
What's
hear me?
wrong here? Well, I'm not on mute.
I'm not muted. You can't hear
Let
me?
me try getting rid of this. Because you are hearing me, right?
I am hearing you.
Yeah. Okay. Oh, I know. My daughter, she borrows this computer and she puts the volume on mute because she doesn't like to listen to the music of her games. There it is. Now you can talk.
Oh, my dog wants to play. Go, go. Go outside. So, and I have a Zoom account and I can set meetings up for as long as I want. So I don't know why you can't, but that's beside the point. So something I did good. So I read a book called Atomic Habits, and I thought it was a really good book on how to create habits and how habits break down and how you don't do things. So this week I am starting some new habits that I want to do. And one of them was I have a rowing machine, which I really like. And he says one of the reasons why habits go away is because you kind of get bored at it. And the biggest thing about creating a habit is that you got to show up every day. Whether you enjoy it, whether you don't enjoy it, you got to keep doing it. So I'm going to row for 5 minutes because that's a long time on a rowing machine when you haven't done it. So I'm going to row for 5 minutes every day, Monday through Friday. So I did Monday, I did Tuesday, I still have to do tonight. So that was something good that I started this week. And I also have a keto friend that I talk to every week. Actually, she came from the Dr. Boz program that when we started, and I still talk to her now 2 years later. And she wanted to do planks. So we're going to each do 2 planks every night for 1 minute or longer, however long you can go. Doesn't matter how long you go, you just have to do 2 planks. That's what her goal was. So I'm doing it with her. So those are things that I did right this week. I started try to make a commitment to some things that I want to do. And I'm thankful for the cooler weather also, since I'm in Mississippi. It's nice to have the cooler weather. And what was the last thing you told me?
Something you're grateful for.
Well, that was the cooler weather. I forgot what the third thing was.
Something you did well, something you want to improve, and something you're grateful for. So what do you want?
Well, I think my 2 things really fall under the wanted to improve. And I was thinking, that I read a book and I made a few things that I wanted to start doing, and I've done on Monday and Tuesday. I did 1 plank today. I still have to do another one and row for 5 minutes.
I've never done a plank. I wouldn't know how to go about it.
Well, you get on your hands and knees, and then you put then you're on your toes. And so you can hold with your hands, or sometimes I do it this way. So hold with your forearms on the ground and you're up on your toes.
Okay. Number 1, being on the ground is not the best position for me.
No, not everybody can do them. And if you're not able to do it, I mean, you're not, but I've done planks a long time, but I haven't in a long time. So I'm just getting back to it. And I was on the phone with her last night, and she goes, I just want to do it for 10 seconds. I said, 10 seconds. I said, Michelle, 10 seconds is nothing. So I got down on the ground. I said, here, time me. I'm going to do it. And I got up to a minute. And then she texted me later in the night that she did a minute also.
Wow.
So,
wow.
I've done them for 2, maybe 2.5 minutes, and you just hold it, and it's hard. And then when you get really fancy, you do other things when you're on your hands, when you're on your toes and your hands. So I'm not there yet.
Mm-hmm.
And another thing I want to start later, but I'm not trying to do all these things at once. It was just going to be the rowing, but then Michelle added the planks, and that's easy. I want to jump rope. So I have a jump rope. I just bought it and set it on the mantle.
Yeah, I have a jump rope, and I cannot jump rope. I can walk over the rope, but I cannot jump over the rope.
I understand. I probably don't like jumping either, but you really you do take your feet off the ground, which is what a jump is, but you only, put your feet this far off the ground to put the rope underneath it. I mean, it's not like you jump. You just do little jumps, but still it's taking your feet off the ground and then landing, and that's hard.
I don't know when I stopped being able to do that. I mean, I used to be able to do that. I used to love to jump rope. I don't know when that stopped, but sometime in the last 40 years that stopped. So
oh yeah, I know. Yeah. So those are, those were kind of my, getting physical type goals that I made with after I read the book. I made some other goals too, but they weren't, really related to this, but personal stuff. Anyway, there you go.
Okay. I'm gonna see, Scott, are you there? No. Okay, Wilma, are you willing to join in? Tell us what you did well this week, something you want to improve, and something you're grateful for.
Well, the one thing I did well was we traveled last weekend and we stayed on keto. We ate keto food. I did not gain but a half a pound for the weekend. For me, that's major accomplishment. Ate within my 5-hour window most of the time, except for one night when we went out. Grateful for our cooler weather. We might get rain tonight, which will be great. And what I need to improve on is probably getting to bed a bit quicker. I tend to like to sit up half the night. But so that's my week.
Okay. Scott, are you there now?
Yeah, I'm here. Yeah.
Okay. So something you did well this week, something you want to improve on, and what you're grateful for.
Yeah. Well, this week I told a couple more of my students about keto diet, because in class we got into a discussion of human health and diet and stuff, and so I talked about the keto diet, and also I talked about chronometer as well, because we talked about, well, part of our discussion was about vegetarianism and veganism, and we talked about the fact that when one is vegan, you have to really watch and make sure you get enough protein, and so I introduced them to Chronometer, where you can type in any food, and chronometer.com, you can type in any food, not a sponsor. Type in any food and see see what type of nutritional value it has, and all the different nutrients in it, as well as calories and the breakdown of number of carbohydrates, proteins, and fats that are in the food in any way. So we had a good discussion there. I don't know if I won them as converts to keto, but at least they're considering it. And then something that I could do better, I think, I don't know, I think I'd like to get better sleep. Seems like this summer I've actually been waking up too early. Normally I wake up before the alarm, sometimes an hour before the alarm, or maybe even more. So it'd be nice to sleep better. And something I'm grateful for, a lot of different things. I'm grateful for the job I have and the place where I live. And so a number of different things. Because of inflation, the place where I work actually gave us over a 5% raise for this year, so that was good. Cost of living allowance. One of my coworkers the other day said, "Well, I guess we're going to have to work harder since we got a raise." And I said, "No, not really. The raise was just to keep up with inflation. In fact, the raise was less than the rate of inflation, so we should be working less." So there it is.
Okay. And Melody, can you unmute yourself and tell us what you did well, what you'd like to improve, and what you're thankful for? Oh, wait, maybe she wrote it in the chat. Let me see.
Yeah, I think she wrote in the chat.
Okay. What she did well, just walking the dog. She's doing better with meeting people and has met a few pups too. What she wants to improve is stop the keto junk food and get back into soups, eggs, and veg. Getting back to eating within the 4-hour window and not in the evening, as well as get into a habit of fasting, as Tammy said. I'm not thrilled with not eating, so it's easy to get out of the habit. Yep. And she's grateful for her precious pup who goes to work with her to one of her clients' house. Yep. That's good. Okay. Now, Melody has brought up a concern, and Melody, we're going to ask you some questions about this concern because it's a big concern. Her concern is, why is my brain really getting bad? I'm definitely not remembering, and I've lost my phone, my keys, locked my keys in the car in the period of 1 week. I'm also forgetting more words. This makes me a bit anxious. So, okay. What questions do we have for Melody? Now, Melody's our resident vegetarian. So my first question would be, so Melody, how many grams of protein are you getting each day? That would be my first question. And then my second question would be, how much water are you drinking each day in ounces or liters or milliliters? whichever way you know it. So how much protein, how many milliliters, and are you taking a magnesium supplement, a salt? Are you putting salt in your water or using salt at all? And what is your blood pressure like these days? Because I know you've had some blood pressure issues. So what's your blood pressure doing? Can you answer those questions? Not seeing anything come in the chat. What other questions does anyone else have for her? Of course, sleep would be another one. Are you getting enough sleep? Are you getting your 7 to 8 hours each night?
Yeah, I think the protein question is good. Yeah, yeah. And also, has she changed any medications or has she had a change in diet lately?
Well, she mentioned that she'd like to get away from the keto snacks. Now, I know the keto snacks try and be, low carb, and they use alternative sugars, but maybe alternative sugars mess with her brain. I mean, I don't know. I know when I eat, a high sugar something, I don't concentrate or focus very well. So maybe the keto snacks are messing with her brain. Or maybe you're just having a bad week, Melody, but you're not answering our questions. So if you can, okay, blood pressure has been low in the 100s to 70, down to 90 to 60s. Okay. I'm exhausted from lots of work. Okay. Maybe I'll scroll up. Okay. All right. Greater than 45 grams, which is great. That's great. Good. I was going to say 40 is the max. I mean, the minimum I would go. So you're getting enough protein. That's great. H2O is probably 32 ounces most days. Okay, that's probably not enough. Water is very important for the function of the brain. And so what the formula that I was taught to use was you take your body weight in pounds, you divide that by 2, and whatever that number is that's the number of ounces you need to try and get each day. So, let's say you weigh 150 pounds. I can't remember how much you weigh, Melody. You weigh 150 pounds. That would mean you would need 75 ounces. So you're like 43 ounces short of that. So maybe water's part of the thing. Yes, you use magnesium. Yes, you do BHB in yogurt and water throughout the day. No on sleep again. I keep waking, but don't have to get up to go to the bathroom. Your blood pressure's been low. Now, I know when my blood pressure is that low, I'm not very clear-minded. As we get older, we need a higher blood pressure to push the blood up towards the head. And the brain needs this blood to function well. So we may need to do something to try and raise your blood pressure a little bit. I would suggest a little salt for that. I'm exhausted from lots of work. Yes, could be the snacks with the alternative sugar. Oh, okay, yes, I'm short on water then. I take no medications. I didn't think you took any medications. So I would suggest you increase your water, but also increase your salt intake to try and get your blood pressure up a little bit. I was doing salt, but I've been having dizziness, so I'm concerned about my vertigo. Okay. Well, I don't know why you're not dizzy at a blood pressure of 100/90. I'd be dizzy. Well, the only thing I can say is you should probably try it because we do need to get the blood pressure up a little. Because that's very low. If it goes much lower, you're going to go into a coma. Yeah, when it gets below 100, I get lightheaded. Yeah, well, we need to push it up. Well, 110, 120 would be good. So it's going to be a figuring it out thing for you. Start out with X amount of salt, and then just slowly increase it and watch your blood pressure each day to see if you can get it up and then maintain it without getting vertigo, and see what you can do there. Anybody have any other suggestions? Because am I crazy? Do you guys think 100 over 90 is good, or 90 over 60 is good? I think that's kind of low. So, okay, anybody else have any other questions that we should talk about before I go on to our next thing? I don't hear anybody yelping. So we talked about having some sort of bit from a book or something to talk about each week. And I said I'd like to go through the myths in here from this book. And so I want to start with myth number 1. And I know it might be a little dull and boring for me to just read this, but from this book by Dr. Philip Ovadia, Stay Off My Operating Table, myth number 1 is only obese people are metabolically unhealthy. Now, when you hear that, what do you immediately think? I have lots of thoughts about this, but what do you immediately think?
Well, I think it's true because thin people have diabetes.
Yeah.
So, it just makes sense. That I would never believe that only overweight people have metabolic disease. I wouldn't believe that. So that I would not believe that myth to begin with, because I know thin people have diabetes. So that's it.
And we all know thin people who have gotten cancer or lung disease or fibromyalgia. It's not just fat people that have problems. And Dr. Boz has taught us that thin people can be insulin resistant and have fatty livers. And so we know that. Now the general public probably looks at obese people and immediately thinks, boy, they're not very healthy, and probably looks at thin people and think, wow, they look good. They're probably healthy. But
well, I've been overweight most of my life, and I don't have diabetes. I don't have high blood sugar. I don't have heart problems. I don't have high cholesterol. So, so that doesn't mean, since I'm that way, I believe there's people that can be the other way too. So
yeah,
I never believed that myth anyway. So I don't.
So I'm just going to read the 3 paragraphs that he uses to address this, and then we can discuss what he said. To address this myth, we need to define metabolic health. So what is good metabolic health? Good metabolic health means your metabolism is correctly utilizing the energy you give it, mostly via food. When our metabolism functions optimally, we eat a certain amount of food and use that to build and repair our tissues, power our daily activities, and store a little in case food isn't available later. Our ancestors often had times when food was unavailable, hence the need for a storage mechanism. Our bodies have actually evolved to endure periods of food unavailability, but we no longer tap into those energy stores, so they accumulate excessively. That is a poor metabolic health. So accumulating energy stores is poor metabolic health, not being able to get into them. And I read a lot of history, and I like history novels, historical novels, and they all talk about, they've been eating just Johnny cake for 3 days on the wagon until they finally kill a deer, and then they eat that until it's gone or it's rotted. And I'm like, man, these people, went without food for 16, 20, 24 hours, no problem, and didn't think anything wrong of it, you know. But we are so used to having our cupboards and our refrigerators so full of food, and we're used to the daily grind of breakfast, lunch, and supper, because our lives are not as unpredictable as people's lives used to be. And so yes, obesity is one obvious indicator of poor metabolic health. But using weight as a sole marker is not only unhelpful, it's dangerous. Some people are what is often referred to as skinny fat, or TOFI, thin outside but fat inside, by medical professionals. TOFI individuals suffer from many of the same health issues as a person who struggles with obesity. They also have poor metabolic health. It is not just that obvious. Everyone has a different personal fat threshold. So we all have a fat threshold. Go us. Which is how overweight they can get before their metabolic health goes off the rails. Sometimes that turns them obese, and other times it destroys their internal health without any external signs. So you can be destroying your internal health without external signs until it's really bad. I think I'm glad I'm an obese person. That's why using external obesity is not a useful indicator of metabolic health. In science, we even have a term for this. It's metabolically healthy obese. So, like, there are some obese persons who don't have heart disease, don't have high cholesterol, don't have diabetes. They can pretty much do whatever they want. They're just big, And
That's what I did. Yeah.
yeah, I mean, I know there's a lady online. She's like 30 years old and she weighs, I don't know, 350 pounds. But she has no health issues at all other than being 350 pounds. And, she tries on clothes and does makeup and goes on tours of Disney and stuff on her channel. And I'm like, but there's stuff going on inside. I know there is. We haven't always understood the deeper issues with metabolic health. 50 years ago, the experts assumed that poor metabolic health was the result of carrying excess fat. To prevent excess fat, eat fewer fats, right? This led to the myth that you're automatically healthy if you don't have excess fat. Now we understand a person can look skinny, but still develop diabetes. It's time to let go of this tired stereotype that only obese people are unhealthy. So, Scott, you've talked to your students. Are you there, Scott?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay.
Yeah.
You've talked to your students. Are these students obese? Do they feel
Yeah.
that they're metabolically unhealthy?
No, these students are overweight.
They're overweight. And is it that they just want to lose weight, or do they want to be healthy?
Well, actually, we didn't start talking about diet because they wanted to be healthy. It was the evolution class, and so we were talking about well, we were discussing whether or not a species would evolve or change genetically if they if none of their resources were scarce, and one of the students says, well, if if you want to talk about, food resources, for example, well, modern humans in most societies anyway, right now don't have scarce food. And so, and then started talking about the fact that, our bodies actually have mechanisms for, storing away nutrients, for times of food scarcity. But, since right now, especially in this country, that most people never go through times of food scarcity, then, are we going to retain those mechanisms for storing extra nutrients, extra calories, or other nutrients, And so that's how we got into the discussion,
Mhm.
But yeah, so, and there's only 2 students in the class, and both of them happen to be obese. So yeah.
Okay. So just like what he said, our ancestors used to have to go through periods of time when food was scarce, but now we don't, and we've lost that ability. And so we're storing all this stuff, and it's to our detriment. So, okay.
Right. Yeah. And and so, I mean, if our bodies are designed to conserve food and to be able to, store up nutrients, in for to survive times when nutrients are scarce, then if we never actually experience scarcity, then that may be a problem. Another thing I want to point out is some back in history, people, they experience scarcity of food often, but also though they had to do a lot more physical activity as well. So you get a combination of the 2 things. They had a high level of physical activity, plus they had scarce food. And I remember, I don't know if I've ever mentioned in this to this group, but I about 4 years ago, I read a book on written by a person who walked the Appalachian Trail, and I think he did almost all of it, or most of it anyway. And he said that you he and people that he was walking with uh, became very hungry. I mean, they were burning, since they were walking constantly, all day, day after day. They burned a lot of calories per day, and so they ate huge amounts of all sorts of food. They even ate a lot of junk food as well, but they lost weight. I forget how many calories they ate per day, but they ate a huge amount of calories per day, and not all of it healthy necessarily, but yet they lost weight, and they were in great shape as well after the because it took him a series of months to actually walk as far as he did, because it starts somewhere in northern Georgia, and it goes all the way to Maine, and I think he did make it to Maine. But anyway, so if you think about it, they ate a pretty carbohydrate based diet, and a lot of it was, a good part of it was junk food and stuff, but they experienced pretty good health because they were they had a high level of physical activity. And back back when we were hunter gatherers, we 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 had a high level of activity. But I mean, if you go back, I mean, even 100 years ago, most people had jobs that required a lot of physical activity. And if you go back to I don't know, 150 years ago, or whenever, when most of us were farmers, well, yeah, our day included a lot of physical activity. And so if you think about it, I mean, we are just 150 years away I don't know, 3 or 4 generations away from being a largely agrarian society, in a society where, you know, a lot of physical activity was the norm throughout the day. And so we burned a lot of calories. We burned a huge amount of calories per day. And so we needed a large number of calories per day too, just to keep things going.
Mhm. My grandma Chapman, I remember her telling me that when she was a girl, she never sat on a couch in the living room, or sat in her room reading a book or anything, because there just wasn't time. They had 8 children and a big farm to run, and they had dairy cows, and then of course the crops, and there was always stuff to do. In the house there was laundry, and there was no wash machine like we have now. So it was, a big pot of boiling water, and you put the stuff in, and soap, and they'd make their own soap, and they'd make their own candles, and there just was not time to sit around. If a book got read, it was in the evening, and someone would read to everyone else while they darned socks and sewed new dresses and stuff. So, and um, that was my grandmother's life. And when I read historical books now, and I hear about, all that they used to do, every day, I get tired just reading about it. And I mean, there's a series of books that I'm reading where, the lady's she works with herbs, and she's a healer, and she walks 2 miles to somebody's cabin, to take herbs to them. And I'm like, I walk 2 miles with the dog, and I'm exhausted. I need half an hour to recover, you know. And she's there, she takes care of the people, and then she walks home. And it's nothing to walk 2 miles, but to me it's a big whopping deal. And so Scott's right. It's not just that the availability of food has changed for us, but it's also our activity level. I mean,
Yeah,
the
the other thing
most,
is, if it currently in the world, most people around the world still do a lot of physical activity, and when we were living in Japan, we did a lot more walking slash bike riding than we do now, so
Mhm.
I mean, even in a large advanced society like Japan, you do a lot more physical activity on average than you do in the United States.
Yeah, when I was in college in Spain, I would walk down to the village from the college. It was 4 or 5 miles, and I thought nothing of it. I just put on
Yeah.
my flat shoes, and we'd go walking with my friends, and we'd walk around town going in the different shops and everything, and then we'd walk
And
back to the
and
college.
there are very few obese people in Japan.
Yeah. There are getting to be a few more because
Right. Right.
McDonald's and Burger King and everything has
Yeah.
got a foothold in Japan. Um, but yeah, when I first went to Japan in 1981, um, I was I was a very tall woman, 5'10" and a half, so very tall. And I always thought myself as really fat, but I wasn't at that time. I wasn't even 200 pounds at that time. And the seats on the bus and the back seat of the cars were small for me. It was small, and getting into some of the little shops, just squeezing into the shops was hard for me. And I noticed when I went back to Japan after Scott and I married and everything in 91, was it 91 we left? In
Yeah, it
90,
was 91. Yeah.
things had actually gotten bigger in Japan. The bus seats were bigger. There was more space in the aisles and stores and stuff. And I noticed some more heavy young people, not the older people so much, but the young people. And it was kind of surprising to me. So anyway, that's myth number one. And it's interesting that doctors have names for this. TOFI, TOFI, thin outside, fat inside. They actually have terms for these people who are metabolically ill, but they look good on the outside. That's interesting. So, but you know what? I've never heard a thin person be yelled at by their doctor, but as soon as I walk into any doctor's office, their first thing to me is, well, you need to lose weight. And I'm like, I know, I'm working on it, but anyway. So anything else from anybody? Any comments about our reading for the evening? And there's been a request that we keep information about food you've tried or recipes or something to the end of our meeting. So anyone who wants to not hear about it can leave. So does anybody have any recipe or food ideas, anything they've tried this week that was good and didn't mess with their blood sugar or their weight or anything? No. Okay. Well, then we have to move on to, how was Tammy's trip?
Well, I did really good. What I was afraid of was all the availability of foods that are not keto, and there were plenty, and they were all like on a buffet, and they were all there. And so you just had to be a really strong person to just kind of pass those by. For breakfast, I just had, and I don't usually eat breakfast, but my husband eats breakfast, and so that's just, so I went down there and I just had bacon, sausage, and some type of egg thing. They had different types of egg. They had some quiche things, or some scrambled eggs, or some hard-boiled egg. Not trying to think of
Poached
what kind of
eggs?
eggs Benedict.
Oh, eggs.
Well, just take the bread off, and just
Yes.
egg with it. Anyway, so I had those, and that was good. And then and you just had to not pick on things on other people's plates. My husband had dessert. I went to dinners with people and they had desserts every single night. I'm like, oh my gosh. So I took a bite here and a bite there, and something sounded good. I got them, and I come back home and I weighed myself about 2 days later, and I was the same as before I left. So I think that was a win for me. I was happy with that, and just try to not make food the center of your trip. You just have to make, I was there with a group of 9 people. So we, had all the 9 of us there at various times. So you just had to make the other people and the trips that you were going on and doing other things besides the food. The food should not be, I did not want to make food the big event of every day, 3 times a day. And so I think I did good with that. And I just chose to eat salads, and other people's plates had lots of stuff on it that would not be on my plate, but I don't have to worry about them. I just have to worry about me and not being tempted by what's on their plate. So it went good.
Well, good. Well, it sounds like you did great, and you weighed the same when you came back. So, hey, that's a win. Yeah. So did you go anywhere interesting?
Well, we went out of Boston and we went north to Canada. So we went to Halifax, Nova Scotia. We went to Sydney, Nova Scotia, and we went to Charlottetown, Prince Edward Island. And then we went to Bar Harbor, Maine, and Portland, Maine. So it was all good. That was never, those are never cities that I really had any great desire to go to, and never would have went, but my mother wanted to go to those cities and she picked the cruise. So we went along with my mother, and so that's fine. I'll probably never go up that way again. And my idea of a cruise is like someplace warm, not someplace, and it was beautiful weather. We had sunny and in the 70s every day. We left Boston with a thunderstorm and thunder and lightning and waves and stuff when we left, but a couple hours into the cruise, and we didn't leave till 5 or 4. So it was just at the end of the day. And other than that, we had perfect weather, cool in the 70s, which for me was nice because I'm in Mississippi. It's been, 100 degrees every day. So that was kind of nice. But I had to take so many types of clothes, I was afraid it was going to be cold and rainy, as you didn't know, and ended up being sunny and 70 every day. So it worked out really good.
Mhm. Were there activities on the boat that you could
Oh
do?
yeah, there was all kinds of activities for you to do every night. There was a show in the theater, and you could walk down. You didn't reserve anything. You got a handout every day of what was going on today, and you just picked and chose what things you might want to go to. They had a singing couple. They had a girl singer who had a guy on the keyboard, and they played in different bars all around. And we went and saw them. Like one night, she did a set, and it was advertised. She was doing a set and going to play the Eagles songs. And another night she was going to do the Carpenter songs for a set it told you what time she was going to do that. And one night she might play here and another night here. But there were several singers like that. And there was a guitar and a comic group, and they would play different different bars and different nights. And then there was a dance group of about maybe 10 people or 12 people. And I watched them one night do a variety show in the stage. And then another night they did take me back to 1969, and they did lots of songs from 1969. And that was more in a bar setting with a stage. And so I went and saw that, and you could go. I mean, I did go to the casino and won lots of money. So my husband won $151 on a machine one night. And so I took his winnings of $151. I took the slip, and I says, well, you can play with your $10, but you're not spending any of the $151. And then another night, he won $80 and I won $90. And I took both of those and said, we're not spending it. And you can spend, because you only take $20. I would only take 2 10s. So if for the first 10 you won $151, you still got another 10, and he could spend that. And so I left with $150 one night and $180 another night. So I call that a win. But I didn't do that every night. I mean, when you go in there and you only have $20, it can be gone pretty quick.
Yeah.
They had lots of restaurants for you to pick different types of food that you want. Mostly we ate at the buffet or at the main dining room, which was a 2-hour sit-down dinner. So, I mean, you just have to read the activities. Oh, they had the song Thriller for Michael Jackson. And there was the video to Thriller was, like a huge thing, when it came out. Well, they had to learn the Thriller dance, which my 2 sisters went to. I didn't go. Learn the Thriller dance. And so they had a video of them doing the Thriller dance, all the goons. Yeah. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So they learned that in about 30 minutes. And so that was a fun little thing to do. And every night they had the steward gave you every day what was happening the next day, and you could pick and choose your things. And of course, at all the stops, there's excursions that they give out. And so if you had already picked out excursions, you did those on the days. Okay, this was really neat. On the last day, when we were in Bar Harbor, they must not let the cruise ships go up to the land. So you had to board a boat to go from your cruise ship to the land. And that was fine. In the morning, there were tons of big boats. It would take hundreds of people probably up to shore. But coming back, the last boat was going to be at 4:00, and you had to be on the last boat, or else, you might miss the cruise ship. And anyway, so we were going back about 3:00, and the lifeboats that they have on the sides of the ships, they had lowered the lifeboats, and those were our transportation back and forth. And those only held about 40 people, so they wouldn't have been suitable for the morning. But in the afternoon, we're riding one of those lifeboats back. And then Norwegian crew was piloting the ship, that little boat, and taking you back there. That was kind of cool.
Yeah.
When I figured out we were on the lifeboat.
Well, at least the lifeboats did not have holes. So had there been a problem, they would have worked.
And you can hold about 40 or 50 people.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, it wasn't just, small type thing. I mean, it's kind of big with rows of seats and stuff.
Now, on a boat like that, do they have a motor? Is there a motor
Yeah,
on
yeah,
that?
yeah,
Okay.
yeah, we
So
was
they
piloting
didn't
driving
make
it.
y'all row. Then.
No.
Okay. Just wondering. Just checking.
No.
Okay. Well, Melody said she made some soup, and I've asked her what kind of soup, but she hasn't answered. So we can't
Oh.
talk about her soup.
I love soup. It's getting to be soup weather soon, maybe next month. My husband is the cook in the family and so I got to pick out soups. Although he is the cook in the family, he works second shift, so he's never home at night anymore.
Yeah, yeah. I like soup. I used to make a lot of soup, but I haven't since I went keto. Maybe I should try doing that. Maybe it would be a thing to change things up, you know?
Well, my husband doesn't exactly make keto soups all the time. I mean, he likes chicken noodle soup, so he'll make chicken noodle soup, and I prefer the broth part of it. So I might have some noodles in my bowl, but it's not going to be like a lot of noodles. Or I just, I mean, it's not going to hurt me to eat 10 noodles if I put 10 noodles in my bowl. So,
Yeah.
and then I like Italian wedding soup, and then we put orzo in there, but that may be a day I kind of go a little heavier on the carbs if I eat the orzo. But I do I can just eat the broth, and I love just the broth, and I could be happy if no noodles went in it and no orzo went in it. So, but he makes his own little meatballs for the Italian wedding soup.
I used to buy a pork roast and cut it in half and put half of it in a pot with water and vegetables and spices and just let it cook at high for like 24 hours so it all pulled apart. And then I would pour it over some rice and I would eat that. But now I know rice is evil. So, but maybe I should go back to cooking some of my soup like that because it was good. It was good. I remember it fondly. And there was nothing in there I couldn't have. It was that I poured it over rice. And so anyway.
Yeah, well, you can just have to do something else with it, and
Yeah, I'll figure it out.
just add some vegetables with it and just eat that.
Yeah.
And I like the broth, so.
Yeah, I like pulled pork sandwiches, but the barbecue sauce has so much sugar in it.
I know my
And-
husband makes carnitas with a roast
Oh,
of some
yeah.
sort.
Mhm.
And I know that it has a lot of, I know that he puts a lot of carbs in it. And you know what? Sometimes when you have meals with your husband, I just have to just know that I'm eating more carbs. I don't make tortillas with it. I take my pulled pork and I put avocado and salsa and cheese on it and I just eat it. And I just have to just forget about it today. I just can't be, I can't survive my marriage if I don't eat half the stuff he cooks.
Yeah.
But he knows I'm not going to put a tortilla on it. He knows I'm not going to do, go crazy. But I don't really mention the barbecue sauce. And when he makes ribs and makes his own barbecue sauce, his favorite ingredient is honey, of course, in his barbecue sauce. And so, I mean, I just have to just kind of limit it and try to do the best I can.
Yeah.
It's not every day and it's not even every week.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe once or twice a month, if that, because he doesn't cook every weekend like that.
Yeah.
So
Well,
most of the times on the weekends, it's just steak.
well, if nobody else has any questions or comments or stories or anything they want to tell us, then I'm going to go ahead and turn off the record and we'll call it a night. Tammy's yawning, so I'm sure she's tired.
Well, that's another goal that I'm trying to do after my habits book is to get to sleep earlier. And since I usually stay up to 11, my goal right now is to try to be in bed by 10:30. And then after maybe a week or two, it's going to move to 10 o'clock. And then I'm going to try for 9:30, but we'll see.
Oh, well, good luck with that.
9:30 might be pushing it. I'll be happy with 10. I get up at 6:15, but I get up all night too. My
Okay.
sister, are we still recording?
Yeah. Do you want me to?
Oh, well, I can say it. My sister got a patch that she puts on her belly and it lasts 4 days that helps her not make as much pee, which makes you sleep better because I don't have to get up 2 times to pee all night. So I'm going to think about getting that. I mean, I am going to get it. I just haven't gotten it yet.
Oh, okay.
Well, Tammy, what I do is I make sure I stop drinking water about a couple hours before I go to bed, and then I rarely have to get up during the night to use the bathroom. You know,
Yep,
do
that's
you-
hard for me to do, but I do try to limit it, maybe after like 7.
yeah, because something like that might work.
Before keto, Scott used to be up at least once every single night, at least once, sometimes twice. But then he changed to keto and he stopped drinking later in the evening.
Well,
And
I think actually I stopped drinking later in the evening, even before keto.
yeah, but
Yeah,
you were
'cause
still
they-
getting up.
Was I still getting up?
Yes.
Mhm. Well, I've had a lot of sleep problems over the last couple of years, which I've talked about every now and then. I don't have a sleep problem right now, but that's because I take some over-the-counter drugs and melatonin. But I was having problems staying asleep. I would take a sleep aid and but I felt I didn't have problems falling asleep. So now when I get up the first time to pee after midnight, I take the sleep aid. So it keeps me sleeping the rest of the night.
Mhm.
Because I didn't have problems falling asleep and I felt that it didn't work, for 8 hours. So now I just take it a little bit later to help me sleep the rest of the night. I need to like wean myself off of that, but I'm just kind of afraid to because I just had sleep problems and I'd be up 3 and 4 hours in the middle of the night.
Mhm.
You can't do that too very often,
No,
too many nights in a row.
no. I'm, my problem is I go to bed too late. I need to go to
Well,
bed
I
early.
know. What is too late for you? What time? Midnight? 1?
Anything after 1 is definitely too late, but I would take midnight. I would take midnight.
Well, yeah, I know it's hard to do. I'm just trying to, I was staying up to 11 and that was too late for me. So I've been, this week is 10:30 and it may be 10:30 for a little while and then I'm going to try and go to 10.
Yeah.
So you just have to say, I want to do it and then do it. It's hard. I know it's hard.
Well,
It's hard.
we have a daughter who sometimes doesn't go to bed herself until 11, usually by 10:30. And she's been good lately, but I got in the habit of trying to get her to bed, and there would be nights she wouldn't go to bed till 2. And I have to break the habit.
Yeah, you just have to make another habit. And your other habit is to try to change your time and say, okay, 12 midnight, I'm going to be in bed by midnight and see how you do.
Yeah.
And when you get good at midnight, make it 11:30. And
Yeah,
of course, you're going to fail at 11:30 sometimes, but you want to try to set a goal of something earlier.
Yeah,
Something
I really would like to get to 11 o'clock, midnight at the latest. But it's not working at the moment. So
well, no, I
figure it out.
don't think you can go from 1 o'clock to 11 o'clock in one thing.
I
You
know.
have to kind of wean yourself, make it
Yeah.
midnight and be successful at that for some time and then try to go 11:45
Mhm.
and then 11:30. I mean,
Yeah.
it's too hard to go a big span of time like that. That's why I went from a 10 and I would be happy at 10:30.
Mhm.
And I haven't failed yet, but it's only been 3 days. So
Knock on
I'm
wood.
expecting failure, I mean, you're not going to make it right all the time. And then when I can do that one pretty good, then I'm going to try cutting it back a little bit farther.
Mhm.
So.
Oh, there she is yawning.
Oh, I know.
All right. Well, I'm going to
All
turn
right.
the recording off and
Goodbye.
good night. And we'll see you all next week. And remember, there's the new recording link. That will be for the next 11 weeks after this. So anyway, I'll have to see what's going on with that, why it only let me do 12. But
We have a family chat every Sunday night and I made them for the rest of the year. And that was like in the summertime. I just put an ending date of when I wanted it to end.
Do you have the
Since
free
it-
version of Zoom?
No,
Oh, okay.
yeah. I was in such a hurry tonight, I didn't put an ending date, I just went from the drop down menu and it only went up to 12. If I had put an ending date, I think it would have been fine, but
Oh,
there
maybe
was a
that's-
drop down,
Yeah,
I
12
put
is
in
good.
for a weekly meeting, And then I just did the drop down menu, how many times, and I'm like, oh, the highest one is 12. So that's what I
Oh,
did.
well. you
So I
could
think
probably
if I
put
had
it-
put in a date, it would have, because I think this last one, I asked, I did, well, I don't know. I can't do the math right now, but I think we did 15 or